Day 2 of 31 Days of Comics is here, and it's going to be a lot more relaxed, a lot more chilled out and easy day, especially compared to day 1. Or so I thought before I really got into it. But before we descend that particular mental spiral staircase, in case you're not familiar with 31 Days of Comics, the game that we are playing, check out my introductory Day 0, What is 31 Days of Comics video, which I'll link up here and in the description below. We've also gone through Day 1, your favorite comic, which I'll also link below. So we move on to day 2, and the prompt for today is a comic that you would recommend to anyone. And in fact, the full category is a comic you would recommend to anyone no matter what. But I have some issues with that no matter what part of it, which we'll get into shortly. I'm really excited about this category because the way that we're playing this in a group means that I'm expecting some fantastic recommendations in the comments below. If you're a new reader just starting out or otherwise don't feel equipped to make recommendations, I'm hoping that the comment section of this video serves as a repository for you. Day 1 is already up to 300 comments, which is amazing. And I love this idea of people returning to these videos and going through the comments section and finding more comics to add to their shopping list, because that's what it's really all about, isn't it? But first, the reasons why it's an easier and more relaxed category. Whereas day 1 was your favorite comic, something that is absolute and definite, something of rank number 1 in many ways, today's category is a comic. So much depends on that indefinite article. This means it is one of possibly many comics that you would recommend. You just have to pick one without the added complication of ranking. And for me, recommending comics is something I really enjoy. I do very often. One might say that I started a YouTube channel simply to recommend comics. So speaking from my point of view, you could consider almost any video on this channel a recommendation of a favorite comic that I am making to anyone out there. And because there's a lot of intersection between things that are our favorites and things we recommend, this also works really well as a day 2, because any comic you felt bad about leaving out of day 1 can be accommodated here. But now the complications arise. The category isn't simply a comic you'd recommend. It's a comic you'd recommend to anyone. And this can be interpreted in so many ways. For me, the first problem in making a selection now becomes, what do you mean for anyone? Does for anyone mean for everyone? I love making recommendations that are tailored to people or to groups. I love hearing what else they have enjoyed, either in comics or in fiction, movies, in order to get a bead on the kind of thing they're looking for. And I like making selections thinking about a high probability of success. I really want to maximize the chances of what I recommend to appeal to the person I'm recommending it to. This is probably because most experienced readers don't really ask for recommendations per se. Many of us feel like we know what we're looking for, we know what we like and we don't like, and our searches are a lot more curated based on the creator, the publisher, maybe even which reviews and opinions we trust. But open general recommendations, I think, are made more towards the new readers or people looking to get into comics or people who have gotten into comics and want to know what they can read next. Now, I'm not saying that all recommendations are intended only for beginners or new readers, but I do think that the way things are recommended and the way recommendations are sought are very different between new and seasoned readers. So getting back to this idea of a comic you would recommend to anyone, so that's the first thing I think of, a recommendation I would give to a new reader as well as to a seasoned one. And here I think is one of the fundamental differences between day 1's category and day 2's. As we were discussing, there's obviously a lot of overlap and intersection, but recommendations, at least in my opinion, shouldn't be primarily about how much you love them, even though that seems like a natural place to start. I loved reading this. I must recommend it to other people. I want as many people as possible to read this. You want to spread the joy. You want to have the treasure discovered by more people. But I would consider that level 1 impulse for recommendations. I think the second level of impulse should be more centered on the person you're recommending it to. Your favorite comic could definitely be something you want to recommend and give to as many people as possible, but it could equally be something so peculiar, so idiosyncratic, something steeped in nostalgia or autobiography, something that makes it particularly your favorite and not necessarily something that would work in the same way for other people. And therefore, a recommendation puts the other person first. It's not trying to evangelize something purely because it appealed to you. It's something that has the best chance of appealing, and that's why the context of who you're making the recommendation to is so important, and that's why saying to anyone no matter what becomes so complicated. Then to further twist upon this, anyone no matter what also brings in the idea of age group. Not only does anyone no matter what indicate a breadth of experience, but that experience can also be one linked to age. So does that mean that the answer to this has to be an all ages work, or something that is for children but extremely appealing to adults? Something that doesn't have whatever people consider to be inappropriate for younger readers? And I think if that's the way I want to go, and I want to cover for a favorite that I did not name on day one, my answer would be Bone. So my decision seemed to be made, but I still had second thoughts. And now I argued with myself that if someone asked me to recommend a movie to anyone no matter what, or a novel to anyone no matter what, I wouldn't automatically think it would have to be a G-rated movie or a children's book. And of course, and I'm going to assume everyone watching this video, don't necessarily feel that comics should automatically be thought of as a medium primarily for children or naturally for children. Now, people familiar with this channel know that I'm a big fan of young readers comics and children's comics. I often celebrate them as being some of the best comics period that I've been reading, but it did strike me now that I've got some sort of a double standard when it comes to a category like this. So I made once again the painful decision to cut Bone out as my answer, not because it's not an excellent comic and not one of my favorites and not one of the comics I've recommended the most in my life, and not even because it's specifically a young reader's comic. Bone was not written as a young reader's comic. It is truly all ages, but its presentation and some edits and changes over the years to various editions does allow it to have that much broader appeal. And speaking about times when I've left Bone off the list, a long time ago I made a top 10 gateway comics list, a list of comics for those starting out reading comics, and in spite of the technical antiquity of that video, I still stand by all of my choices on that list. I'll link that video down here as well, but again, I left Bone off that list because I had talked about Bone extensively already on this channel, and I wanted to talk about comics that I hadn't before. Today I will not be doing that because not only is my final pick a comic that was featured in my top 10 gateway comics, but has also been the subject of numerous specific videos. I am, of course, talking about Day Tripper, written and drawn by twin brothers Gabriel Ba and Fabio Moon. I made a video on Day Tripper called Why is Day Tripper a Perfect Comic? You can check that video out for my specifics about why I love this comic. But today I'll just reiterate, like I said in my top 10 Gateway Comics video, that Day Tripper has continued to be a book that is loved by people I recommend it to. Bone and Usagi Yojimbo are two of the others that have also seen that kind of success. But Day Tripper is smaller and slimmer, a single volume read which keeps it from being too intimidating, gorgeous colorful art that immediately draws you in, and then of course the story, a bittersweet celebration of life with a dash of fantasy that so easily could have been cheesy or maudlin, but pulls itself back just at the very edge, yet never stops from wearing its heart on its sleeve. My love for Day Tripper has been represented in many videos, and check out how many people showed their love for Day Tripper in the comments of just the previous video, your favorite comic. As I said, in many ways this entire channel is a list of recommendations. Day Tripper over here is just one of many favorites, but the alchemy it achieves and the manner in which it is able to capture a wide range of readers, in my experience at least, remains unmatched. Now it's over to you. In the comments below, let me know one comic that you would recommend to anyone, no matter what. And I'd love to know not just the name of the comic that you recommend, but also how you approach recommending and how you think of it. Thank you so much for watching. The Day 3 video will be up shortly. This has been For the Love of Comics and 31 Days of Comics, and I'll see you at the next video.